Yo, what's up, you guys? I'm trying something new. I kind of just randomly just came on because I need to make this video. Normally, I wouldn't make videos. Everybody got a topic, but I'm just tired of making comments sometimes. So I'm just make this an exclusive video about Power Rangers. Actually, I'm actually very disappointed. That's why I can't even let this one slide. So I have to say this: Hasbro, we all know, is selling the Power Rangers merchandise over to what was the name of it? Playmates. I almost forgot them because they doing the Godzilla versus Kong, they doing the Ninja Turtles, the Star Trek, the so on and so forth. The Miraculous Ladybug. Them the big ones they're doing over there. Well, now be Power Rangers once they start producing. I believe in 2025 they should be hitting shelves allegedly, as we've been told. But that is Playmates. I have some really good hopes that Playmates does good with the toy line. Hopefully, Lightning Collection. Hopefully they can. Hasbro can give them the molds and they can continue. And as long as the quality control, and that'll be a whole nother video because I didn't think they did a terrible job. It could have been better, but they didn't do a terrible job what the internet made it seem. But we can get to that a little bit later. This is about Hasbro and the reboot and what I think should have been produced. First of all, I think that was I'm split 50-50. I'm not gonna say it was a complete terrible idea, but it didn't make any sense when you really think about it, because right now we would have had Power Rangers right now. And I'm actually looking at the Lupin Patrol Rangers. That was when they had the 3 groups Rangers that was good and 3 groups Rangers that was bad. I'm probably gonna butcher their name, so I'm not really gonna take a crack at it just because I ain't trying to piss nobody off, because you know how they got those Sentai elitists they call. But I just want to say this: Hasbro making the reboot was a good idea and slightly a bad idea. Now, if they wanted to do the reboot or make their own version of Power Rangers, cool. But at the same time, I know this is going to sound crazy because I don't know how the contracts work. Where I know when Spawn and Disney had it, they was on a contract where they had to do every series. But I think they was loose with storytelling and they using certain props and stuff like that. They if they didn't want to use it or something like that, they didn't have to. That because that's how Power Rangers did. Power Rangers did their own thing. But they still use suits and weapons and certain monsters and stuff like that. 'Cause some monsters got skipped. But anyway, or even some Rangers got skipped. But anyway, the thing is, I still say that Hasbro should have had a special deal where they can be like, okay, we don't have our version ready yet. And I know it's gonna sound crazy, but let's say they want to do their version, they could still make it. Or whatever. It might cost them a lot of money. I don't know. Or they could have just did this. They could have stuck doing the Sentai stuff, like having the police rangers. You had Akira Mongers. I actually watched that. That was actually pretty good. I've heard this BS story that Saban skipped Q Ranger was because they had a point in the helmet and making the toys. They were scared that the kids would get stuck by it. Well, look, I collect action figures, so I know how sometimes sharp objects, like the Lightning Collection had sharp objects, especially those pointy objects with those, I might be getting them mixed up. I'm actually probably thinking of something else, but I know Dragon Ball Z, the Bandai, they had some sharp, jagged. Actually, no. Lightning Collection did have that. They had these jagged areas, and I just think that was a BS excuse. I think they said that the Lupin Rangers. I personally believe it was probably hard to make. That's probably why they skipped it and made a little excuse talking about it was a flaw in the helmet and all this other crazy stuff. If that was the case, they could have just made it kind of like soft plastic, not really soft where it can tear off, but soft where it's really firm, and they could have did a lot of stuff. I saw that Power Rangers last year and I loved it, and I'm not gonna call it Sentai Power Rangers, whatever. I love that series. And Kira Mongers, that was something straight. America could have adapted that, made their own story out of that actually, and could have just, excuse me, they didn't have to make it super kitty. And that's another thing why I didn't like about the ending of Beast Morphers. And I understand Sentai always did crazy stuff, because I've been watching a lot of Sentai, really getting the history of it. They did some crazy stuff. Hang on one sec. All right, I'm back. I kind of got sidetracked, but anyway, as I was saying, I lost my train of thought, so I'm gonna probably have to work my way back up. Anyway, so yeah, so Power Rangers, they could have easily made these, dubbed these particular seasons. It could have been, they could have kept the same formula, 2020. You know, I didn't like the, and I agree, I don't like the whole. Dom's writer was right. I don't like the whole super season. I mean, they could have just split them up. We understand. Anyway, but yeah, just having them just completely just cutting off Sentai was kind of a bad idea. And now at the time, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I was like, yeah, they should, you know, do their own thing. Which I still agree they should do their own thing, but bad idea. Like, if you're gonna do your own thing, great, but at least have it ready by the time, you know, you producing these shows. I mean, you producing these dubs, and then when the time is right, you guys could have had it where, okay, we could have had an easy transition. Maybe they could have had it where they could have did their own here and there, their own version, and they could have still pull from Sentai, like they did with Cosmic Fury, which I think Cosmic Fury was really good, actually. But there was a couple things I didn't like about Cosmic Fury. I didn't like the whole Lord Zed getting trapped in this weird time warp. I could just, and that wasn't even the real Lord Zed. It should have took him out. Like, should have blown him to smithereens. But yeah. It's just like, it's just crazy. It's just crazy how they just sit there and just completely cut Sentai off like that. That was not a good move. And I understand and I've also heard and understand, well, not really understand, but heard that Hasbro really didn't want Power Rangers. Waste of time. You know, and I understand Saban wanted to do, and that's another thing. Let me say this a little side note, because this is the part that pisses me off. Saban purchased Power Rangers in 2010, because I had a comment earlier today. That's one reason really making this video too. Is some guy comes on, or whatever, kid or whatever, comes on my, tells me on my comment that, well, Power Rangers was bought in 2002, right during time for a while, Wild Force. No, it did not. Power Rangers was actually was purchased in 2001, fall of 2001. I say more towards the winter 2001. It didn't take full effect until the middle season of Wild Force, because I'm not really a gist on how the legal stuff, how those big sales go, but I do know it takes up to 6 months to 5 years. Take some time. Because like how they had the Disney and Fox, when they took some, I think it was like 2 years, 2.5 years, they really got that stuff finalized. I think it was 3 years. I could be wrong off the time, but I remember it was a long time. And just like WWE and Endeavor, it took them some time. That probably took a whole 2 years, but we probably just didn't know the full details until it happened. Because at first they thought it was Saudi Arabia that purchased it, but it would still take a year, because they got to make sure the government comes in. They got to make the investigation, make sure that it's a legal purchase or whatever, how it goes. But I know there's a lot of legal mumbo jumbo. But anyway, but yeah, but I still say that Hasbro should have went on ahead and continued producing Sentai. They didn't have to do word for word, and that's another thing. They could have just got the suits and made up some stories. I would have just done that. I wouldn't even have done with, like, for example, Mighty Morphin. I want to say season 3. I believe they kind of was bouncing off of Zenkaiger, and because I think Zenkaiger was already done with the footages at that point. And I'm talking about, yeah. So he was working with Die Rangers and then Kaku Rangers. That was what footage they was working on. But they still made up their own stuff in between. When I also heard that Bandai made exclusive footage just for Power Rangers, they could have just done that. Now, if they wanted to do their own thing, they could have just went that route and just used the costumes and just made all their own footages. That's what I would have done. That would have saved so much time. I would have used some, like they did with Cosmic Fury, used some footages when needed. You know, stuff that's already made. If you need to put stuff in together, whatever. they had it all mapped out, but Hasbro screwed it all up. I wouldn't have done that. Now, if I wanted to do a reboot, I would have probably just went and did a theatrical thing. Kind of, I would have, and I know the 2017 movie probably would have not got produced again because look how long it's been. And plus, those actors and actresses have already moved on. Like the Red Ranger was in Stranger Things, then you had the Yellow Ranger from the movie. I'm talking about the movie. She's a singer. And then I don't know what the other guys are doing, but I just know I seen one of them. I think that was the Black Ranger. I seen him in other things. So yeah, they should have kept the momentum going. You know, the first movie wasn't bad. Should have been a little bit more action maybe instead of like the whole anime. I don't know, but good. Still enjoy the movie. Don't get me wrong. That could have just been a whole side thing or whatever like that. But if Hasbro really wanted to do something, they could have just went and started working on a theatrical movie. And I don't want this whole. It didn't have to be a whole Marvel universe and all that stuff. It could just did his own thing, you know, whatever. But one or done. Like I still say that I still consider the 2017 movie one and done. That's how I look at it. I didn't see it going through a 5-part, 6 arc. It could have, but the way they built it seemed like a one and done movie. The way they built it, you know. The way I look at it, it's just me. But back to Hasbro with this whole cutting a toy off and all this stuff. Or I don't know if that's factual, but this is what this has been reported because a lot of things can get all murked up, twisted up. But this is just my opinion on if this is the truth. Yes, should Hasbro try to take their hand and make Power Rangers stand on his own and have his own footage and own costumes and stuff like that? Yeah, great. I think that'd be an awesome idea to see how America take. But at the same time, if you know this is going to take a long time, because Power Rangers has been around for a long time, and I understand shows need to take breaks. I get that. But at least keep the momentum going and actually at least pull from some seasons that you could actually still make money off of, like the police and the cops and robbers. Oh, I think that's how, you know, those cops and then you had then you got Akira Mongers. Then you had Zenkaiger. And I ain't really been a big fan of Zenkaiger. I hope I'm saying that name right. But at the same time, they could have made that. And I think that could have been the first ever. They could have really sliced. I would have taken up them Robot Rangers. I would have took them out. Well, I wouldn't have took them all out. I would have used them here and there and keep them there. But I would have used that. That would have been a good opportunity to kind of start really working with Kamen Rider. Start slicing Kamen Rider and Zenkaiger, because it kind of already had the feel of a Kamen Rider, and you could have spliced that together and it could have got something out of it, or just use one of the suits and it could have did your thing. Matter of fact, that would have been a great season if you guys want to really do something, you know, because you guys could have used that costume, used some of that storyline, and then made your own exclusive Rangers, like they did with the Titanium Ranger. I think it was a couple of times America made their own exclusive. I know the Titanium Ranger was one of them, but I think there was a couple more. Oh, I want to say, correct me if I'm wrong, it was Jungle Fury. It was those Pai Schwa Masters. I think those guys was exclusive, and I know they did some exclusive toys. You know, they could have easily used Zenkaiger. I would have done that. I would have been like, okay, Zenkaiger is easier. We'll use one base Ranger. We can cut the other robot things out. I know people gonna say what. I would have probably cut them out for a little bit of parts, and then started that's when I could introduce my 4 exclusive Power Rangers. They could have used that as a bridge to let people know, okay, we really serious on making our own stuff, but we're gonna still use Sentai, the footage and costumes, just to pay homage. This is easy. And Power Rangers is not really that of a complex complex show. I mean, I'm not a director or a big time screenwriter, and I make cartoons here and there. But if you kind of got all the people there and got everything set up, then whatever. And then I know they moved out of New Zealand, whatever. They could have just made that move back. They could have made that move to Canada, make it easier. I mean, it's so much things. New Zealand was way far over there. I would have moved the place to Canada and the set to Canada, and went up, called it a day. But this video kind of gotten a little too long. I'm just rambling at this point. But what is your take on this? And I want to hear from you guys. You guys take it easy. All right.